Hi there, welcome back to this channel. In this video, we are going to be discussing the comparative anatomy and physiology of excretion in non-chordates. All right, so non-chordates simply refer to invertebrates. Okay, so and we're going to be doing an in-depth study, but basically, for people who are not well acquainted with this topic, what I'm going to do in this video is that I'm going to first explain in common term. I'm going to run through all of the excretory system for each organism that we're going to consider. We'll just brush through it in simple terms before we now see what I have been prepared in this has been prepared in this slide. So let's go through the comparative anatomy and physiology now. So we know that all organisms basically remove waste products from their body, and the process by which they do so is excretion, isn't it? So excretion is the removal. We say it's the removal of waste product of metabolic activities. So when metabolic activities usually produce waste products, is that okay? Which could be oxygen for plants, could be carbon dioxide for some animals, and ammonia, urea, uric acid, etc., or water. In fact, those are all um, different types of the waste products that living organisms tend to produce after metabolism. Okay, so we say excretion is an essential process in all life forms. And in one cell organisms, waste products discharge through the surface area of the cell, and the higher plants eliminate gases through stomata or pores present on the leaf surface. The stomata is the plural of stoma, which is basically the pores that are available on the ventral part of the leaf. Okay, so the multicellular organisms have special excretory organs. So in advanced organisms, we are going to be seeing special excretory organs that they use for excretion of wastes. So we have ammonia and urea and uric acid are major forms of nitrogenous waste excreted by animals. So ammonia is the most toxic form and requires large amount of water for its elimination, whereas uric acid, being the least toxic, can be removed with a minimum loss of water. So take note of that. So ammonia is the most toxic of the types of waste product that are eliminated by living organisms. So while the uric acid is the least toxic of them all. So and then the ammonia will be excreted with with large amount of large amount of water, while ammonia will be excreted with large amount of water because of its amount of toxicity, or toxicity level, while the urea or uric acid, by the way, rather, which is least toxic, is going to be excreted with little amount of water or relatively less amount of water. Okay, so and on this basis, we characterize organisms as ammonotelic, urotelic, and uricotelic. Now, I've explained the excretion in plants in the previous video. So, um, so you should. I'm going to link the video in the description. Do well to see that video. Okay, so now excretory organs in non-chordate animals include protonephridia that we see. Okay, um, now this classification actually begins with the um, it goes in this order. If you remember the order of the invertebrates, we have the P, C, P, N, A, M, A, Echinodermata. Okay, so we have the poriferans, the coelentrates, the platyhelminths, the nemahelminths or nematoda, the annelids, um, mollusca, arthropods, arthropoda, and echinodermata. So this is the order in which we are going to go. But of course, you should also know about the protozoans, which are the early animals. So before we discuss these animals, this group of invertebrate animals, let's first discuss the protozoans. Okay, so, but in this group of animals, we are going to be seeing the protonephridia, nephridia, malpighian tubules, antennal glands as, in order of complexity. This arrangement is in order of complexity and, of course, advancement of the organisms. Okay, so the so let's see the these guys, the protozoans. Now, the protozoans typically paramecium, amoeba, they are, they are single-celled. Is that okay? They are single-celled. So they're unicellular or single-celled. Okay, so and they don't require special excretory organs like the kidney or or even green glands that we see in some um, a kind of what are these guys called? Arthropods. Is that okay? So we don't see advanced forms of advanced organs that they use for excretion because they are simple organisms. So now, amoeba, for example, gets rid of. I think I treated amoeba here, so let's discuss amoeba first. Okay, so excretory system in invertebrates. We're going to be beginning with the protozoans. So amoeba um, unicellular eukaryotes, like I already said, and they have no cell wall. Okay, so they don't need special excretory organs. So the way amoeba, for example, gets rid of its waste is mainly by diffusion through its cell membrane. Is that okay? Diffusion through its body surface or cell membrane. No cell wall. Remember, animals do not have cell wall, so they get rid of waste by diffusion. And of course, waste products like carbon dioxide and ammonia are the primary excretory products. And this guy and NH3, CO2 and NH3 are the major excretory products. Is that okay? Because they build up inside uh, the the organism as it carries out respiration and other activities. So these two guys are the major waste products of metabolism. Of course, it also excretes water. Now, these waste that we're talking about usually move out of the body of the organism into the water because it's an aquatic organism. So, and the reason why it's able to do that is because there is higher concentration inside of the organism and lower concentration outside of the organism. So, and what is diffusion? The movement of what? Ions, the movement of ions, the movement of molecules from a region of what? Higher to a region of what? Lower concentration. Region of region of higher the region of higher to region of lower concentration. Is that okay? So that's diffusion. But of course, water will move in the opposite direction, isn't it? So water is going to move in the opposite direction of the solutes. So that's why um, it's able to get rid of CO2 and ammonia out of its body, And apart from this, the amoeba rather, can also deal with too much water. Is that okay? That enters its body because it lives in a fresh water. So that's where the contractile vacuole comes in. Is that okay? So if you look at this structure here, the diagram you see here, you're going to see the contractile vacuole. So the contractile vacuole helps in elimination of excess water. Now, what it does is that it actually collects excess water and squeezes it out from time to time. Is that okay? So the as the organism is trying to eliminate solute, it gets to absorb water. Is that okay? So and as it's absorbing water, it has to also release some of this water because so that it might not, um, Of course, it is the process is regulated too. So it's the rate of absorption of water is not so much that it does not, you know, um, destabilize the homeostatic condition of the body. All right. And sometimes the contractile vacuum can also help to push out dissolved waste along with the water because the water is going to go out. So sometimes dissolved waste might go out of it. So, in short, the diffusion handles gaseous exchange. So, gaseous and soluble waste, rather. So, diffusion handles, diffusion takes care of soluble waste. Is that okay? And the contractile vacuum takes care of excess water. Okay, excess water, and of course some waste, because I said waste, some of the waste are going to go out with the water that it is pushing out of the body. Okay, so we said that, so according to this slide, they reproduce using binary fission and move by pseudopodia. So take note of that. If you never knew, of course, they move by pseudopodia, and pseudopodia means false fit. Is that okay? Pseudo means false. Okay, pod. The word pod or ped is a Greek word for um, leg. Is that okay? Now, amoeba are found in ponds, rivers, and surfaces of leaves and water, and plants rather. And there is no special excretory organ, like I said. Contractile vacuoles function as excretory organs in a process known as osmoregulation. Is that okay? Osmoregulation. It's just the balance between salt content and water in the cell, in the unicellular organism. And ammonia is the and excess water in the body are the major excretory product. Ammonia, CO2 in respiration, and water. So don't forget that ammonia, CO2, ammonia, CO2, and H2O, excess H2O. Those are the major excretory products from these unicellular organisms. Okay, so we also have the poriferans. The poriferans. Now, what are poriferans? Of course, you know the word poriferans means comes from pores, right? Pore-bearing organisms. Poriferans from pores, right? Pores means holes, isn't it? Holes. So that those pores are basically the osculum. Um, yeah, ostia actually. We have the ostium, we have the osculum, which is the the dorsal opening here. This is the osculum, I'm sorry. And there's the ostium. Okay. So the ostium is the name of the opening on the on the um, body of the organism. The whole body of the organism has these spores, many numerous spores, and that's why we call them poriferans. Poriferans. Okay, let me quickly run you through how they um, re- excrete substances, waste from their body. So before we go into what the slide says, so we know that they are already simple animals. In fact, from the order of, since we are talking about this whole thing in evolutionary sequence, so we're going to be going from simple organisms to complex organisms. Is that okay? So we are at poriferans now, which are very simple. So they don't have tissues, they don't have organs. So in fact, they don't even have proper digestive or excretory systems. Is that okay? And of course, you already know that they live in water. So now, it will bring in oxygen and food from that water, isn't it? And it's going to carry out its waste. Now, the waste product is majorly water and carbon dioxide and ammonia, like what we saw in the amoeba. But the process is actually because now the organism here also has um, um, high surface area to volume ratio. So because of that, it's going to be able to, you know, um, excrete these stuffs by simple diffusion. It's going to be able to, remove this waste product by simple diffusion. And the water current that flows through the sponge is going to help to flush out the waste. Is that okay? And now the water current is going to enter, through the ostia. The water current is going to enter through the ostia and it's going to help to flush out through this ventral opening that I call the osculum. Is that okay? It's not so visible in that place, but of course, that's the osculum. Okay, yeah, it's in the slide here. You can see it's the osculum. Is that okay? Oscula for many on the many sponges. Sponges occur in colony. So all of them, those sponges in a colony are going to have their own individual osculum. So the water current brings in water from the ostia and is going to follow the waste are going to, which are basically ammonia and carbon dioxide too, are going to follow the water current out through the osculum. So the sponge is entirely depends on its diffusion and of course water flow for excretion. So there's no special organ. That's the major thing here. No special organ, and and it uses diffusion and a water current uh, that flows past it. So we said it has simple body and that they have numerous spores, is that okay? Which we call ostia. And there's a large opening at the top called the osculum, which helps in excretion. Now, the process involves diffusion of waste products, particularly ammonia, into the cells and archaeocytes. Now, archaeocytes, the word archaeo means um, 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 old, olding. Is that okay? Like old cells. Is that okay? Site. The word cyto means cells. Is that okay? So they are just like saying old cells. So into cells are an archaeocyte transporting waste particles through the mesophyll and into an outgoing water current to prevent the blockage of the ostia. Yes, that is another reason why it has to take in um, why it has to remove the waste product by water current so that the waste products will not clog the surfaces, the holes, the ostia, the pores on the surface. So that is why um, you know, you know, it uses that method of excretion. Okay, now let's see the coelentrates and or cnidarians. Of course, you know already that we have in classification, the coelentrates have been grouped into two, basically. We're separated into two. We have the netophorans and the cnidarians. Netophorans and the cnidarians. But of course, they use the same system. Is that okay? They use the same system of excretion, which is what? Simple diffusion. Simple diffusion through the entire body surface. Okay? Now, the coelentrates we know, we can also call them netophorans or cnidarians. Is that okay? They basically excrete using the same um, um, mechanism, so to speak. Okay? So coelentrates usually, they also have small body surface to surface area to volume ratio. So because of that, diffusion is possible. Diffusion is always possible for. So we say diffusion is possible for all of these guys, all of the lower organisms from protozoans to coelentrates. Is that okay? From protozoans to coelentrates, um, um, diffusion is the primary method of excretion of waste. Okay, they don't have kidney and excretory organs, like I said too. Is that okay? And like the sponges, they use simple diffusion, and their major excretory product too is also what ammonia and carbon dioxide. So far we have ammonia and carbon dioxide as their major excretory products. Is that okay? So now, since they are also in the aquatic environment and they are in constant contact with the water, so they the water is going to help in the what in the movement of the in the movement of the waste that has been exuded by the body out of the away from the organisms, away from the organism. Okay, all right. So in the slide we said they have what um, the entire body surface, he said, is by diffusion, And of course, ammonia is the chief excretory waste. Of course, it respires. That's why I mentioned CO2 the other time. So, but ammonia is so it is ammonotelic. So all these organisms we've seen so far, they are what? Ammonotelic. All right, let's see the next slide. Now, platyhelminths, the word platy, means the word platy means flat, isn't it? Platy means flat, and helminths means worms. Worms. Okay, so basically we call them what? Flatworms. So flatworms, they are more advanced than the other ones that we have seen. They're more advanced than sponges and than the cylindrics, which are Hydra, sea anemone, sea anemone. So is this sea anemone or sea anemone? Whatever. Hydra and the sea anemones. So basically, the Nigerians, these platyhelminths are more advanced than them. Yes, because one of the key difference is that these guys are triploblastic. The platyhelminths, they are what? Triploblastic. Is that okay? So that is what makes them more advanced. But of course, they still have simple excretory system. Their main waste is also ammonia, but keep in mind they don't excrete. Um, they don't. They have excretory um, um, structures, special structures. Is that okay? We call them flame cells. Is that okay? We call them flame cells or protonephridia. That's another name for them. Protonephridia. So, and of course, so these guys, we said excrete using flame cells. Now that they now this does not mean that they are more advanced than these guys. Tell her I've begun class. I've begun class. Thank you. So these guys, I said that these guys are more advanced than the coelentrates does not mean that they do not respire by diffusion at all. Doesn't mean that they do not respire by diffusion at all. Is that okay? So, and of course, their main waste is ammonia, though, and since they live in water or moist places generally, some of it still goes out by diffusion through their body surface. Okay, so um, so we have said they have specialized structures called flame cells. Now, what flame cells does is that it helps to collect liquid waste from the body. Is that okay? And they are called flame cells because there is cilia, inside them that 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 flickers, yes, and that moves like a flame. Is that okay? So it moves like a flame. So that's why we call them flame cells. So we said the excretory system of numerous this excretory system comprises of protonephridia called flame cells. Is that okay? Now, the flame cells are modified mesenchymal cells which are found distributed throughout the mesenchyme, and the main oval part of each flame cell is called the cell body or flame bulb. Cell body or flame bulb. Okay, and that is this entire part. Is that okay? Okay, and the nucleus is situated in the flame bulb. So basically, you're going to see look at this structure here. Let me change the color. So you're going to see this structure here, this guy here. That's the nucleus. Is that okay? So, and each flame cell has an intracellular cavity. Basically, you can see that here. Intracellular cavity in which hang few cilia. Okay, each arising from basal granules situated in the cytoplasm. All the cilia collectively form a tuft which beats which whose beating appears like flickering of the flame. Hence, they are called flame cells. Okay, the lumen inside the flame bulb narrows in narrows in the elongated portion of the cell in the elongated portion of the cell in the form of a five canaliculus. That's a mistake. So the lumen inside the flame bulb narrows in the elongated portion of the cell in the form of five canali- canaliculus. Is that okay? And so this is a canaliculus. You're going to look at, see, if you look at here, let me change the color again. So if you look at this place here, you're going to see the canaliculus here is here. So that's why they are called protonephridia. Now, this lumen of the flame cell is in continuation with the microscopic excretory or capillary ducts, and the capillary ducts um, from a few protonephridia open into a narrow collecting tubule. So this is the collecting tubule here. Here you find the collecting tubule. Okay, the collecting tubule, you know, the collecting tubule is where the excretory product finally ends before it is taken out of the body. Several such tubules open into a larger twig. So this is a larger twig in which they open to. Is that okay? They open into this tube here. Exactly. And um, and it in turns open into vessels. Okay, it opens into vessels, and the excretory vessels of the anterior part of the body opens into four trunks. Now, excretory canal, which are these four trunks, they unite posteriorly to form a single longitudinal excretory canal. Okay, so that is about the platyhelminths. So basically, know that they excrete using the flame cell. Okay, and we have the nemahelminths or nematodes. Okay, now, the nematodes, we know they are called round worms. Okay? Now, they are more developed than flatworms, of course. And these ones live in soil, in diverse environment. They also live in water. And some of them even parasitize humans. Okay? So, now, the Ascaris, for example, has H-shaped simple tubular excretory system. The main It also has, so this one also has what? Excretory, but simple yet, simple excretory system. Is that okay? And the main waste product is still ammonia. So far, organisms are what? Are monotelic. Now we're already in nematodes and we still see that organisms are what? And thus far, rather, organisms are monotelic. And of course, they also excrete some ammonia by diffusion. They also excrete some ammonia by diffusion. Now the two they have a tubular excretory system, like I said, that is simple also. Okay, and the system has two lateral excretory canals that you can see here. Two lateral excretory canal here rather two lateral excretory canals running along the sides of the body, and um, basically, the canal simply collects waste and it opens to the outside through pores too. Is that okay? So the pores are where the the excretory products are passed out of the body of the organism. So we are saying that in roundworms or nematodes, the waste removal happens through both diffusion and simple excretory system made of lateral lateral canals, lateral excretory canals, and of course they are hinged together by here you see by network of transverse canals. So there is a network of transverse canals. So we have both lateral canal and transverse canals. Okay, so and this transverse canal have pores um, to that opens posteriorly. Okay, so so we said they have an H-shaped excretory system, and the excretory system chiefly consists of two longitudinal or lateral excretory canals. Each longitudinal canal is extended throughout the length of the body. I am still busy, please. You're not making me concentrate. Okay, so we have a short terminal excretory duct extends from the left side of the network, the transverse canal, to the excretory pore. Is that okay? So these are the transverse canals. These are the longitudinal canals. Okay. Now, unique excretory system of ascaris is formed by a long germ cell in the cytoplasm, of which tunnel-like structures form excretory canals, and these cells are called ribbet cells or rabbit cells. Okay, so and its nucleus is situated on the left excretory canal near the connective ridge. Near the connective ridge. So you are going to see this here. Look at the nucleus. The nucleus. I'm coming. So you can see the nucleus here. Is that okay? Of the rabbit cell. Now, Ascaris is a uricotelic animal. Okay, excreting urea. Oh, I think I made a mistake there. So, um, it is not ammonotelic. It doesn't excrete ammonia. It actually excretes urea. How did I forget that? From pardon my mistake. Sorry. So from I mean protozoans to this, and to another nematodes. So from this PPCP, we have ammonotelic organisms. Then from nematodes, we have uricotelic, that is, it excretes uric acid. Uric acid. When you excrete uric acid, that is when you are uricotelic. So that's that about the. So they are uricotelic, nematodes are uricotelic, and they use H-shaped excretory system. H-shaped. It's usually asked. Don't forget, nematodes are the ones that use uh, H-shaped cells. Okay. I remember the way I used to um, the what I used to remember them then was, you know, nematodes. You know, the typical example, the most common example is Ascaris lubricoids. So, you know, if you want to draw A, you put a dash here. If you want to draw nematodes too, you put a dash kind of across, isn't it? So, look like H-shaped cell. If you open A up, it also looks like H, isn't it? It just consists of two bars and a dash. So when you bend this, you form Ascaris. When you know, nematode. That's one of what I used to remember then. Okay, let's just continue into the next set. So we have PCP. We are now at A, that is annelid. Okay, I didn't cover annelid. Holy Ghost. Okay, let me just quickly talk about the annelid. Now, you know, of course, according to revolutionary trend there in our PCP name arthropods, PCP Nama Echinodermata. So you're going to see that the annelids are a bit more advanced than the nematodes. The annelids are called askelmins too, askelmins, because they are worms. So is that okay? So, annelids actually um, they have a more developed excretory system than the nematodes. Okay, so the excretory organ, they have an excretory organ, and it's called the nephridium. The nephridium. So the annelids have a excretory system called the nephridium. Annelids use nephridium, and the plural is nephridia, of course. And each segment of the body has a pair of nephridium. So you know that the annelid, a typical a an annelid like an earthworm. Earthworm. So we have the clitellum here. So and is you know it has segmented body, right? It has segmented body. So each segment has a pair of nephridia. So a pair nephridia is. So and the nephridia helps to filter out ammonia um, um, and other metabolic wastes. But primarily, these guys rather will be uricotelic too. Is that okay? So and um, they also excrete excess water too. They excrete excess water, and they push it out through pores known as nephridiopores, nephridiopores, nephridiopores. Okay, so we have begun to see uricotelic organisms now. Uricotelic organisms. Right. Then for so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So let's talk about the after the annelids. Let's talk about the mollusks. Did I talk about mollusks? Yeah, mollusks. Okay. So let's talk about the arthropods then first. The arthropods. Arthropods simply refers to insects. Is that okay? And we know that the insects use the Malpighian tubules. Malpighian tubules. Don't forget the special names that I've mentioned so far. If I let's do a quick run through. We said these guys, the protozoans, they use the body surface by diffusion up until we saw the coelentrates. Okay, simple diffusion. But from platyhelminths, we began to see flame cells. And don't forget, you can use what you can use to remember that is flatworm, F flat, and flame cell, FLFL. Is that okay? And I told you that it's because of the flickering motion of the cilia. That is why we call them flame cells. Okay, all right, or protonephridia because they are the early forms. Proto means early. Is that okay? Early forms of nephridium. Okay, so up until the and all those guys are monotelic. Then we began to see uricotelism from the nematodes. Is that okay? Nematodes are uricotelic. And insect now, we are now on insects. Insects are also uricotelic. And um, their, their excretory um, excretory system is called the Malpighian tubules. The Malpighian tubules. But in this Malpighian tubules. Okay. So in this slide, I basically talked about the um, other types of arthropods, such as the spider. Is that okay? That uses green glands, prawns, all those guys. So prawns use. I don't think I talked about the Malpighian tubu here. So okay. So but we'll cover it. It's not. So now Malpighian tubu generally are, they are tiny tubes too, and they float freely in the body of the insect. You understand now? So what they do is they kind of soak waste from the blood. The blood of the insect, is called the hemolymph. It's called the hemolymph. So the Mapigan tubu will soak up the waste that are in them, and these wastes are majorly uric acid. So we say they are uricotelic, isn't it? Uric acid, and sometimes salt, of course, and water. So they soak them up, and the tubules will now dump them into the gut of the insect. So they will be dumped in the gut, in the hind gut specifically, in the hindquarters. And so from the hindquarters, they will now get mixed with undigested food, and then they'll be pushed out of the anus of the anus um, of the organism, or vent. We it's in some, they have special name for different organisms. Is that okay? Special, there are different names. For example, that of the in the, I think, prawns. Which one has telsin? I think it's prawn though. Anyways, so it will not be pushed out of the body of the organism, you know. So that is how the insect use Malpighian tubules. But the other arthropods, such as the prawn, for example, now the excretory system of the adult prawn, which is a crustacean is a class of the arthropods. It's a class of the arthropods. Um, the it's a so I say it's a class. They are called crustacean. The word crust means hard. Is that okay? So they are crustaceans, and their excretory system consists of a pair of antennary or green glands and a pair of lateral ducts and a single renal sac. Okay. Now each green gland consists of three parts: one end sac, two labyrinth, and three the bladder. So they have the end sac. You're going to see them here. You're going to see them here. You have the end sac, you have the labyrinth, and the bladder. Okay, so you're going to see the bladder here. So this is the bladder here. This portion here, and this portion here. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much it. Okay, so now the green gland. So altogether, we call them the green gland. Okay, now so we have the antennary or green glands. We have the end sac. The end sac is a small bean-shaped part that contains blood. The blood lacuna. Blood lacuna means um, blood space. Is that okay? Its wall is two layered, and the inner layer is of epithelium cells having excretory functions, and outer thick connective tissue layer has minute lacunae. The labyrinth present outside the end sac and contains many narrow branches and coiled excretory tubules. So if you look at this structure here, well, you're going to see this here, somewhere around outside of the end sac. So that is the labyrinth. Okay. Now each tubule communicates with the end sac by a single opening, but opens within the bladder through several apertures. Now the bladder is the largest part of the antennary gland or green gland with epithelial lining. Now there are small ureters with which it communicates with the outside, uh, with the posterior part. So now then we have the lateral duct, which is a narrow lateral duct that arises from the posterior part of the bladder, of each antennary gland. So which is this? Yeah, the lateral duct. Then we have the renal sac, which is a large, thin walled sac-like structure that is above the cardiac stomach. So in physiology, there are two functions of the antennary glands, which are excretion and osmoregulation. Excretion and osmoregulation. Osmoregulation simply means salt water balance. Is that okay? So it is richly supplied with blood. That is the green gland, richly supplied with blood, and is going to, by you know, is going to be able to remove nitrogenous waste from the um, nitrogenous waste, such as uric acid. Is that okay? So, and water, of course, and salt. Is that okay? So uric acid and salt from the body of the organism. Okay, so we have the mollusks. The mollusks. So I wrote mollusk. All right, now mollusks are more complex. So and they have well developed organs. So if, in fact, if you see here, you're going to see that these guys have special. Their organs are more specialized. Um, how do I put that now? Um, Basically, they have specialized organs. Is that okay? And their own organs are called nephridia also. Nephridia, but their nephridia are more advanced than the ones that we saw in the um, in the annelids. Yeah, annelids. So they are more advanced than those. So we're going to be examining that of a pillar. Is that okay? So the nephridium is just a kidney-like organ. It's a kidney-like organ. And these guys, the mollusk, some mollusk excrete ammonia. Is that okay? Some mollusk actually excrete ammonia. Now, and what else is okay? Basically, let's go through this slide. What else about okay? So we have the mollusks. They have one or two pairs of kidney or organs of Bojanus of Pila. Now, so this is one of the genus. Is that okay? Bojanus, Bojanus. Okay. Um, so the the excretory organs of the Pila. The Pila is a snail, basically, is a gastropod. While Unio, the Pila is a snail. Is that okay? Is a snail. While the Unio is a bivalve. Bivalvia, or what else do we call them? The bivalves. We call them the bivalve. That's the because they are these ones are gastropods because they are stomach footed gastropod. While bivalve, we call them hatchet footed. So what is hatchet footed? Bivalve means they have two valves. Two valves. What does two valve mean? That is just two shells. Is that okay? So you have the unio, which is fresh water. Um, peel, oyster. Thank you, oyster peel. The oysters, the oysters, and casostria, right? Casostrias and all. Okay, so now the Bojanus organ or organ of Bojanus so the that Bojanus is one of the genus of the organisms. Is that okay? So now that Bojanus organ is a glandular organ that they use that is part of their kidney. It forms a part of the kidney in Pila, while we have Keber's organ in bivalves like the unio. Is that okay? So we call it Keber's organ. Okay. Now the excretory organ in Pila is the kidney. Okay. Basically, kidney or nephridium. Now, so in some textbooks you might see nephridia. It's still nephridia, but it's not exact. The kidney is not advanced, so that's why some authors call it nephridia, and of course, so here we call it the kidney. Basically, it's a kidney. So um, what else? Yes, because if you look at this very well, so this be the structure here. This is the structure here. Is that okay? So that's why it's called a kidney, though. That's why I say it's more advanced. It's more advanced. So, but some authors still use nephridia. Now it consists of two renal chambers, one anterior and the other is posterior. It is coelomic in origin, being a true coelomoduct. What that means is just it has the It is a true coelomate. This guy, a true coelomate. That is, there is internal space between the organs. Is that okay? Okay. Um, then, um, so being a true column dot opening at one end into a column, that is the pericardial cavity, and at the other to the exterior, which is the mantle cavity. The mantle cavity is where the shell is secreted. The right anterior cavity is oval shaped. It is red in color and it is present anteriorly to the pericardium. Here's the pericardium here. So, and it opens into the branchial cavity. It opens into the branchial cavity. The second side opens into the posterior chamber. So, the cavity in this chamber is reduced and it shows a number of lamella. They are, they are, lamella is one of what is used to filter water. Is that okay? They are supplied with blood and they take excretory waste from the blood and send into the branchial cavity. So the branchial cavity is where it's now exuded with X current water. Is that okay? Because they respire using the the it depends on the species of mollusca. Is that okay? But water aquatic mollusca respire with the Tenidium. No, that's wrong. Tenidium. Okay, so that's basically it. Then we have the physiology of excretion. That is the function of excretion, how it carries out the function. Now, the two chambers will absorb nitrogenous waste materials absent in the blood supplied to them, and these will now be um, sent into the branchial chamber, and finally sent, um, you know, sent out of the the technetium is another name for gill. Is that okay? The technetium is another name for gill. So sometimes, you know, water will follow the incurrent water. Water will bring in oxygen. So that one that comes into the body is going to be through the branchial chamber. It's going to be called the incurrent water, and the one that goes out is going to be called the excurrent. So then from the branchial cavity, that water will now flow out. The waste will flow out with the excurrent water. Okay. So the pillar, for example, excretes ammonia. The pillar excretes ammonia, and some others are uricotelic. Okay. Now, let's consider the echinoderms. Now, basically, the echinoderms have, they have spiny skin, like those of starfish and this guy. So this is basically a starfish. Which other example do you have there? Urchins, right? Sea urchins. Sea urchins. Sea urchins, sea cucumbers, right? Okay, basically, so the starfish is a typical example of the echinoderm, the most common example. So sisters, they lack specialized excretory organs. So the way they get rid of their excretory waste products is by diffusion. Is that okay? It's by diffusion. So that is why sometimes it is argued whether these guys are more advanced than than the than the um which guys are those? Are the arthropods than the arthropods. So there was one such author I read that classified it as nematode are less advanced than annelid, which are less advanced than mollusca, and molluscas are less advanced than echinoderms. Is that okay? I mean, the echinoderms, yes, yes. So the echinoderms. So some authors say that echinoderms are more advanced, while some the author I use basically, which is more recent classification usually, actually, the echinoderms are actually more advanced than the arthropods are actually more advanced than the arthropods. Is that okay? The what did I just say? The echinoderms, yes, are more advanced than the arthropods. Yes, that's what I said. Okay, so now they also remove waste product through their tube feet. Is that okay? That diffusion actually happens through their tube feet. Movement and diffusion actually happens through their tube feet. How do I mean? The tube feet actually works like in a jet like, the way the siphon of an octopus works too. It brings in water and pushes water out in a jet-like propulsion, jet-like propulsion. So it pushes out water. So by pushing that water out, it will move in the opposite direction. So the same way is the way the tube feet of these guys move. Is that okay? So basically, they um, excrete by what? Tube feed diffusion. And their own excretory product is also ammonia, majorly ammonia right now. So excretory organs in different animals. So we have the plasmalemma in the plasmalemma, that is um, their body surface. In amoeba, general body surface in hydra, flame cells in platyhelminth, e.g. tenosolium or tenase saginata, fasciola hepatica, those use flame cells, or protonephridia. The annelids use nephridia. Um, the the insects, such as cockroaches, use Malpighian tubules, but spider, for example, use the coxal gland or green gland. Is that okay? Or antennary glands. Those are different names in which by which they are recognized. Green glands or coxal glands or antennary glands. So then the kidney, main excretory organ in all vertebrates. Is that okay? Then um, so the crustacean use green gland. Okay, so I perceive um, there is there are anatomical differences between the coxal glands and the antennary glands. That's why they're separated. But in basic biology, you should know that spiders and these guys also use green glands. Then these guys, which other guy is that? So they will now have for the so this table shows the level of organization. I mean the hierarchy of classification and their functions, and their excretory organs and their functions. Is that okay? That is what they excrete generally. So protozoans use contractile vacuole and they excrete ammonia. So they are monotelic. Example is amoeba and paramecium. Poriferans excrete use general body surface. They are monotelic. Example is the cycon or the leucon. Those are types of por, porif, por, poriferans. Sponges, basically, sponges. Coelentrates use general body surface too, and they excrete ammonia. They are monotelic, and example is the hydra. We have the platyhelminths, that is flatworms. They use flame cells or protonephridia system, and it is a monotelic. Example, we have the planaria or tenosolium. We have the nematoda and the nematoda. They use H-shaped excretory organs, while the annelids use nephridial system, which they also call kidney, and um, um, the they are also a monotelic. They also a monotelic. Example is the ascaris or ferritima in the annelid. Then the Arthropods, there are various classes. So different, depending on the class, they use different excretory organs. The insect, class insect are used Malpighian tubu, and they are uricotelic, that is the excretory acid. Crustacean, they use antennary gland. Arachnids, some use Malpighian tubules, such as the insects, just like the insects, coxal glands, and they are uricotelic also. So that's that. Then we have the mollusks. The mollusks, they use kidney um, or advanced nephridia. Is that okay? And so basically, just take them as generally kidneys, but they have special names depending on the organs too. Is that okay? Just like we said in pillar, we have the Ujanus, we have the bivalves. We have um, the Kerbers organ. Then we have the echinoderms. They use the tube feet and they are monotelic. Then we have the hemicodate, urocodate, and cephalocodate. The hemicodate, they use the glomerulus. They are monotelic. The urocodate use neural gland or nephrocyte, and they are also urocotelic. The cephalocodate use protonephridia. Some use brown funnel, yes, the brown funnel, and they are monotelic. When we are dealing with the classification, we were dealing with classification. I mentioned all of this. All right, so that will be it for this video. Do well to subscribe to the channel. God bless you.